Grand soft morning to you in this beautiful rain. Feel like I'm in Scotland. Good morning, folks. About an inch and a quarter, inch and a half in there. Take a walk with me in the rain. I want the phone to get too wet. Maybe we'll duck into the... Let's go duck in over here. See how the irrigation is running. I can see it flowing through there. It rained good last night, really good. Although it may be a little loud in here. Yeah, it's kind of loud. Water's flowing through. I need to work on this over here. Ooh. That means the water is moving through the dirt all the way through here. Lovely, but loud. I don't know if you can hear me in here. Let me step out. May just have to hold the phone under me in such a way that my phone doesn't get too wet. A lot of work to still do out here. Beautiful, beautiful. Cleaned up and painted that one. I got a nuke that is needing to be requeened. I haven't checked on it. We'll do that probably Monday or Tuesday. To move a nuke back in here from a split from one of those. Beautiful day. Let's go check on the piggies. They're a little wet. Still watching the water. You got to learn how things move. You got to learn how things flow. And so it's not as heavy as it was, but I cut this ditch here to carry the water out here in order to keep the dirt from getting wet. Y'all remember that? But it still flowed in there to a bit. Probably startle them. It's loud in here too. Yeah. They don't want to get rained on, but the water is coming in here. Ooh, you can't see. There. Too many. Butcher time's coming quick for 4 of them. Where can we go and not be in the rain? Alright, folks. Do you know where you're at? I'm here. I am here. I'm going to be a little tricky with my wording here. Or how much water I've gotten in the tank here. Oh! Yeah, you can't see in the camera. Wow. Alright, so it's up about here. We're getting up there. See if I can't get on it. Hey, this is better. Let's stand back here. Do you know where you're at? I do. I do more and more. It's becoming clearer and clearer to me. I am here. I'm here where I've been guided to. I'm here based on all my knowledge. I am here to live my life, self-sufficiently, independently, be responsible for my own actions. We went through and did all our cleaning on all the trash traps and the gutters, and we did that again yesterday. And I forgot to leave or shut the valve on that barrel, so the entire amount of rain that we got last night went through it. It was like, oops. So when I fed the pigs this morning, closed the barrel back up. We still got 4 hours of rain, so it'll fill back up. Where I'm getting at is, y'all know that those of you, few remaining unsuppressed, the ones that have really cared enough to search out and find me when I got shut down or follow me that way, to stay in connection and community. Y'all know all the crazy things that's happened on YouTube. And I went through all the titles, all the narratives, being at the minute before midnight, that kind of thing. But it does appear that we are here. We are here finally at that moment. And that's coming from a whole lot of different directions. What are y'all fussing about? They're not happy because we got them closed out. There's also a hawk, a big old red-tailed hawk that's been circling around, keeping them on their toes. So the video I posted just before this one is, I hope you understand the ramifications of what I was saying. It's not a light conversation at all. It is extraordinarily deep, dense, and powerful in what it means for how we do things. And all right, so this morning, Bo posted another video on his channel where he was on the Daily Truth Report, 45-minute long, and he gets into some more points that were very, very powerful about how certain groups of people who would be following the path, would go after certain other groups of half people for the purpose of wiping them out. And he made a statement about how they went after to kill out the entire bloodline of certain groups, women and children. And to take it a little deeper, we were taught in the Christian sense, for all of you who have followed that path, have been told that Christ was a merciful Christ. Christ didn't fight wars, and there's a few people coming out in their analysis of our readings and their take on things is that part of him was intentionally taken out of the King James version of the Bible, that where he was more in line of standing up against the tyrannical nature of government, that aspect of Christ may very well have been written out of the Bible. That maybe he was a little bit more hard-fisted than he came across, and why so many Christians are pacifists in many ways, and not. All right, so I'm going to pose another question to you, and that is this: why were there extraordinarily harsh punishments in previous times, in older times? Very extraordinarily. You steal, we cut off your hand. You murder, we kill you. That kind of thing. Because it served as a deterrent. Here lately, in the last few hundred years or so, or last 100 years, or specifically within the last 50 years, y'all know by observation that punishment for doing things, basically went out the window. Those individuals that were put in jail were made, in our criminal system, were made criminals by laws that weren't necessarily, we had politicians creating criminals out, like they want to do with the 2A situation, because they want to pass these new things that would instantly make huge amount of people into criminals. But in reality, that's just to turn people into slaves, into servitude, because that's what most of our prisons are, is now essentially labor camps. And that's taken advantage of in many, many ways. But real punishment for real crime is not served. And we have, in our social structure, have been made to people, let's just put it this way. The real people who do real harm tend to get let off of that. The people who are not really doing harm, maybe they're not behaving all that greatly, but they're not really doing all that great a harm, are turned into the greater criminals. And the great criminals that are really doing harm are running the show, ergo the bankers, the ones who really steal. If you put on a suit and tie, it's not a crime, right? So I want to re-look at a thought. I want to re-look at a thought that I was posing in the first video, and what I'm going to post just before this one, about our way of looking at things. Because in this period of time, the wheat and the tares are supposed to rise together. And when you start printing money and handing it out, that's feeding the tares, is it not? Because it's given people who have not worked for anything a free ride. So I've expressed a lot of these thoughts throughout the years in my videos, but to come to this conclusion, or to the statements that I made in the video prior, is a pretty darn in-your-face kind of statement if you hear what I'm saying. The reason we're in this situation we are globally is because for a long time, those of us who were conservative, my parents and parents before us, and before things got out of hand, when there was an opportunity and everything's sly and sneaky and hidden, there was a period of time when our population in this country could have held the politicians to account for their poor moral conduct. We knew it existed, but we wanted to believe that, no, they're really there to do good. So I go back to my different perspective from being an engineer, or being a gardener or a farmer. When I'm growing stuff out here in the ground, and I have the tares coming up around my food that I'm growing, when I allow them, as I did in this spot, that I didn't clean out and didn't weed and they went to seed, when I allow the tares to multiply by going to seed and dropping the seed, because here's the thing, if you think about it from this perspective, is there another place I can stand? Not really. When you think about it from this perspective, once the tares have gotten big enough to drop their seed, harvesting the tares and the wheat at the same time, you still have the potential for those seeds, the seed of the tare, to continue. You get it? So, I have always been in the habit of taking the time to make sure when the tares are at a size that you can harvest them, when the weeds and the grass gets big enough to pull it when I can get my hands on it. When it's tiny, itty bitty tiny like this, it's hard to do that. But here in about 2 weeks, and it's, oh wow, that just brought chills down my spine, considering the timing of this weekend, with what's going to happen and what's happening or going to happen over the next 2 weeks. Within the next couple weeks, these seeds, these tares are big enough, these weeds that I don't want in my ground will be big enough to get my hands on and start pulling them. But then again, the philosophical thought is beyond that. It's even further than that. And that's on the greater scale of things, and that's the depth of what I'm trying to get at. Should we not weed our gardens long before the tares have a chance to produce seed, so they don't reproduce? T and I have had to move quite a bit in our search for a place to come in community with others of like mind to prepare for what's coming. I'm getting wet. Phone's getting wet. Good thing it's got a case on it. We have spent 2 years in this place and then 2 years in that place. We would spend a couple of seasons working the ground where we were at. And where we were at in these two places, there was always this, well, I've never been able to get anything to grow here. No, I've never been able to have, always overgrows with weeds. And problem, excuse of why they couldn't get in here and do the work. Right? Get back over here where the rain isn't blowing on me. I'm getting wet. It's nice out here though. So I'm going to ask the hard question. And this is from and this is specifically to those who would define themselves as Christians, or for anyone who would define themselves as a good moral man or woman, individual who believes in love and care for each other. When there reaches a certain point, defining lines, and history has drawn those lines in the past to where they needed to be, or where it had been chosen, I should say, where that line is. Yes, we all make mistakes. We all need an opportunity to learn from those mistakes and change and better ourselves. But there are certain things that you do not do in this world, and you do not want the seed of that, or the allowance of, or the permission of, to continue. Right now, the weeds have overtaken the garden, or you could say the corrupt currency has corrupted the planet. Y'all remember me talking about heads need to roll? It's all of our responsibilities to weed the garden. I mean, we were supposedly came from a Garden of Eden at the beginning, and we didn't take care of what we had. Well, Some pretty strong thoughts I've got for you, my friends. And the reason I have them is because we're getting to that point. We're very, very close to the point where the bill is coming on the table. And I don't mean, where, silver's going to go up, which it's going to do next week. Next week, there's no doubt in my heart that we're going to see something interesting. Now, whether it's unexplainable as what Bo Pony was talking about, that you will know there's God because it won't be able to be explained, I'm not sure I would go in that direction, because I think I could explain if gold and silver explode out, and they explode out hard and fast, like I think they're going to. Well, you've got a whole lot of people that are preparing to do the next silver squeeze, and the word's all over the internet. The Wall Street Silver Group is now over 65,000. James Anderson did a really good little video. Saw that one this morning. So a grassroots people standing up and taking action is what's going to occur. So that's it. That's explainable. Now, if something occurs that people can't explain, well, we're going to have to see how that goes. But either way, it's going to happen. And we are here at the point where it's poop or get off the pot time for all of us, because once it happens, then a countdown clock begins. And maybe I'll be the first to say this: a countdown clock begins to the point where we're going to have to choose whether we're pulling weeds or how we're pulling weeds, and so on and so forth, and how we stand together or apart. That countdown clock's going to run pretty fast. Now, according to Mr. Polney's timelines, that'll be a couple years out for preparation. But as many of you are well aware how long it takes to get things together, T and I have been building this place for 2 years, and we're still not done. So how fast can you move, and what are you willing to do to protect your garden from growing the tares? And I mean that in a very literal and I can't think of the words. Anyway, pretty big thoughts, pretty powerful. How do we do this? I'm rethinking it. A lot of my discussions have been about, I don't want to be around when lead starts flying. But then again, that's what started the problem in the first place. Lead didn't fly when it should have, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, more deep thoughts on a very rainy Saturday, 24th, April 24th. Oh, God, I love this. Already have blooms on my elderberry. Eat well, be well, think well, and know what you're creating. Keep your focus on it. Keep your heart high in vibration, and be in the way of navigating the coming days. They're going to be exciting. Feel no fear about that. It's going to be exciting. I promise you that. I mean, it was your choice to be here, wasn't it? You chose this. You chose to come, take part, and be involved in the greatest change in human history. Love you all, guys. You're in our prayers. Keep T and I in your prayers. And sounds like she's gotten the generator going. I'll go and upload all of this to you. Lots of things to do, lots of projects to work on. I can't wait to keep working on the apple presses and stuff. Oh, and I want to say one more thing. I know this is getting long. I want to say one more thing. You know, as devastating as the frost could have been, I'm going to tell you what, I absolutely feel blessed in ways that I can't explain. Even though because you can see all the weeds growing in around, the potatoes, but there's not as many over here. I carried that seed around with the tiller. It makes you think about it. I absolutely feel blessed being here, and there are several signs. What's the matter? You don't like the rain? There are several signs here that have told me that there's something helping me. There is another energy here, another consciousness here helping me navigate doing this. Here's why. We have all these little signs, 4-leaf clovers. I can go around and I can pull 4-leaf clovers by the hundreds. I have never in my life seen so many 4-leaf clovers as we have here. And they're a sign of luck, because they're not common. They're hard to find normally, but they are in abundance here. And secondly, I keep having these things, even though I have issues, where that frost hit us. Some of these plants that were exposed, and there's some over there, only just light burning. Very little damage. None of fruit trees. I mean, in previous frosts and freezes, with the amount of frost that I had on the ground from that first night, I mean, it was white, snow white. With the amount of that, I had a sick feeling in my stomach that something was going to be wrong, but the sick feeling in my stomach was because it was not in alignment with what really occurred, and what really occurred is very little damage in all of my stuff out here. Very little. So my garden had a warm blanket over it both of those nights. Oh, you tell me. Like I said, love you guys. You take care, and I will be focusing on where I'm going and what I can create here and here, because that's what I am called to do, and to talk to you about how I feel about it. You take care.